Hello guys, my name is Khan, and actually in this video mainly we'll be discussing a function in Shiny which is action button. Action button is very much similar to submit button, but there are some very significant difference between action button and submit button. So before going forward, you guys may have remembered that I have made a video about submit button before. So before going towards the action button, I will just discuss in quickly about the submit button. So this is the file that we have created in our previous video, which was related to submit button, and I will just open it up for you guys then, and I will just execute it first, and then I will discuss. Control A, Control Enter. You guys may have remembered that we have created this submit button. So what this submit button was doing, that it was controlling the reactivity of our dashboard. So suppose if we haven't used this submit button, so whatever we have written down here, this is a text inbox, and I'm writing and I'm calling that text input output in my main panel. But suppose if I write down the college name LSE, it's not written down here until I click this button update now, and it's written down here. In the same way, what is your degree level? So degree level is 18, and it's update now, so degree level is written down here. And if again my graph is also linked with this down select input button, so I will select New York. My graph will be updated here. Now you can see the x-axis is representing New York, and again this radio button is also linked with this update button. So this all your input buttons are linked, controlled by this update. If you will not click this update, your changes will not adjust in main panel according to your input buttons which are in your sidebar panel. But suppose you want to control whatever is appearing. So suppose if you want to control the reactivity selectively. So what does it mean? Suppose I want that whatever I make changes in suppose in college name, it keeps on changing. My main panel keeps on changing instantly, but I don't want to update my degree level until I select some button or until I want to change it accordingly. So in that case, when you want a selective control reactivity, then we usually use action button. So now what I will do, I will go back to my code, and so this is the code for which we have used for submit button. But now I will create a new code, but I will be using the same code, but I will adjust it for the action button. So I will close it, don't save. So I will just copy the same code that we have used for submit button, and I will edit it a bit so that I will be using action button in that code. Action button. So this is the code which we have which was actually we built for submit button. So now what I want is, because I don't want submit button now, I want action button. So I will quickly go through the code. We have these libraries that I will be using. This is my working directory, and then within my working directory I'm using this Shiny UI, assigning it to an object, calling it as UI, titling it as my first dashboard app. And then I want my sidebar layout to appear on the right hand side. My sidebar panel have the following. I have text inputs where I'm saying what is your college name. The ID will be name. What is your degree level is have a text input ID level. Whereas what is your, in which city do you live? So there are three options: London, New York, Paris. And these options will be get saved into an ID city, input ID city, and I have a radio button is your marital status, married or single. These values will be stored in input ID marital. And after that, and I want to show some outputs in my output panel. So now the thing is that, okay, I don't want this rate submit button. So I will just remove it from here. And what I will do now, I will add, suppose if I want to add my action button in my main panel. So in order to do that, I think I will just execute this library. Control enter, and now I will start writing my action button, because initially I want my action button to be shown under the main panel. So we'll say action button, and within the action button, first what will be my input ID. So my input ID that I want to have, suppose input ID is, okay, click. So you can name it whatever you want. I am just naming it as click. And I will be labeling my action button as so the next option I have to tell is label. So let's see, my label is do selective update. So actually I've just have added this action button. I haven't linked this action button with anything. So there is some error happening related to brackets. Just give me a minute, let me check why this error is happening. Actually I'm having an error because there are 2 extra brackets. So now let's see, if I execute this code, let's see how my dashboard looks like. Control A, Control Enter. You can see we have action button here now, but this action button is not doing anything right now because I haven't linked it with anything. And now if you see that I have removed the submit button, I have added the action button, but again I haven't linked this action button with any of these sidebar option. So now my because of the removal of submit button, now my dashboard is again instantly reactive. Whatever I write down LSE, you can see it's appearing here. What is your daily level 18? It's appearing here, and my graphs are automatically instantly updated because I have removed the submit button and I have added the action button, but I haven't linked this sub action button with with any of the input options that we have in our sidebar panel. The next thing is that I want to show that whenever you click, this action button will be increased by 1 numeric. In order to show what's the value they are capturing, so I will just add within my RSHINY server, I will come here and I will be writing down a new output ID. So I will be saying output $out. I'm just naming it as out click. Again, you can call it whatever you want. Then I will be using a sign. Then I will use render text. And within the render text, I will be calling this ID input ID. Okay, I think better to use a paste command to differentiate that what I am printing on main panel. So paste, and then I will be using action button value. I hope that you guys are familiar with the paste function. So that's why I'm not going much into detail. And then the next thing I want to write down is input $click. My separator is nothing like this, and I want this output to be appeared in my main panel. So I'll be writing my main panel, and after that I will be using as a text output. Text output, and within the text output I will be writing down my output ID, which is out underscore click, which is coming from the Shiny server. Put it down here. Let's see. Control S, Control A, and Control Enter. So now if I click, let's see what happens. So let me see, this error happening. Let me see why this error happening. Let me confirm. Actually, there is again brackets, issue of brackets. Sorry, the error occurred because I haven't mentioned this argument within my main panel. I have put it outside this bracket. So I've just got it, paste it here, and now I execute Control A, Control Enter. So now let's see. As you can see, there is a value printed here. Action button value is equal to 0. And now if I click it again and again, so it keeps on increasing when I'm clicking it. So, and actually we will be using this action button value to identify that only update these text input option or any option that we have in sidebar panel only when this value increased by 1, or if this value remains the same, don't update our main panel output until these values are increased by 1. And this selective, but this action button is linked with any of your options that you have used in your sidebar panel. You don't need to link it with all the options that you have used. If you guys have remembered, the submit button automatically get used attached with all of your options that you have in your sidebar panel, but the action button gives you the freedom to link it to only a selective input that you have used in your sidebar panel. So let's see how to selectively control the reactivity of your dashboard by using the action button. So in order to do that, so let's see. So suppose I want that my input, the output name, which is controlling that what is your college name. I want it to remain reactive, but I want my level not to change automatically. I want it to get linked with the action button. So whenever I click the action button, then the level of education get updated. I'm just giving an example. So in order to do that, you can easily do. So so I like to control the reactivity of the level of my education based on action button. So let's see. So where I have used this output level, I will make just some edits there. So I will go there. It's not necessary to use this curly brackets for me. I'm just using it to. So here what I will go. First I will write down this input $click. And then after that, here is a important thing that I want to control the reactivity of this input $level, which is coming from my select input of this level. So here I will use a function which you can link, which link you with the action button. This function name is isolate. And whatever you want to control the reactivity, you will write down within these brackets. So what happens is that whenever you click, and once if the value remains same, it means that you are not clicking the action button. Then your response, your dashboard will not change until you will click the action button. So once you will click the action button, this value will increase, and then I will get to know that okay, I have to update this out level button according to the new value written down here. So let's see if I do it now. Control save and control all, enter. So this is my action, this is my dashboard. As my college name reactivity is still instantly, if I write down LSE, you can see LSE is written down here. But if I write down my degree level is 18, you can see that 18 is not get written down here until if I click this action button. Let's see if I click this action button. So the action button value increased by 1, and then R come to know that the value of input increased. So now whatever the value we have in this degree level, then I want to update my main panel accordingly, according to this new value. And again, if I write down something 20, it will not get updated automatically, but my college name, which is not linked with the action button, if I write down here like Oxford, so you can see that my dashboard got updated instantly, but not my degree level text input, because this text input is not linked with the action button. Or you can see that, or you can say in other ways that you act that the output of your main panel is not linked with, is linked with the action button. So now if I update it, you can see that my update output got updated. The next thing is that suppose I will give you one more example to control control the reactivity of your dashboard. So now I'm trying to control the reactivity of your graph. So suppose if I select this another city, our graph got updated according to New York City, and if I change it to Paris, this thing also got updated according to Paris. But suppose if I want to control the reactivity of both the degree level and this degree level and this graph output to my action button, how I can do that is also very easy. We'll repeat almost the same process, but here I am using render plot. So here, in order to control the reactivity, again what I will do, I will write down this input $click to, which will give the signs to R that only update this output of a plot only when the value increase by 1, and when the value will only increase when you will click the action button. And again, whatever you have done manipulation or coding to generate the code. So here we have just this plot command. So I will write down this functionality within the isolate, and within the isolate you can write down multiple lines of code. So it's not required that you have to be, the isolate will only be having only one line. You can write down, you can do different steps on your data manipulation, and then you can create a chart. So the end result, whatever the end result of your chart, will be saved in this render plot output object. So let's see if I execute it now. Control A, control enter. So as you can see, if I change it to New York, the graph don't get updated instantly because the graph got controlled by this action button. But I am using a rendered text for this city and I am putting it here. That output object is not controlled by the action button. That's why if it keeps on changing, it will keeps on updating. You can see that rendered text output is keep on changing with this select input, but not the graph. But suppose if I want to change it, this graph, and this graph is linked with this action button. So if I click it, you can see that the graph was also updated according to the Paris. And now if I write down 18 and if I select New York, so these two things, degree level and this graph, are linked with this action button. So if I click it, as you can see, both got updated. But this my college name LSE is instantly linked with my main panel. It's not their reactivity is controlled by action button. My status reactivity also not controlled by the action button. So this is a kind of an example in which you can control the reactivity of your outputs according to the action button. So the last thing is that you can also show the visibility of your action button. Suppose if you don't want to show this action button in the main panel, if you want to add this action button here in sidebar panel, you can also do that. Again, what I will do, I will just copy paste. I will cut it from my main panel. Currently we are in main panel. I will just Control X, and I want it to be written down in sidebar panel. So as you can see, we are in the sidebar panel. So I will go into the sidebar panel function, paste it there, and let's see, Control A, Control Enter. So now you can see. Sorry, actually I have put it my action button output in sidebar panel, but I want this button to be there. So I'll just do what I will do. So this is the thing that I want to do. Paste it there, Control X, and again I will go to the sidebar panel option, and I will paste it there. And now Control S, Control E, Control Enter. So now you can see both my action output is also appearing in the sidebar panel. And now if I write down New York and I can click it here, my graph got updated because my graph reactivity is linked with this action button. And here I'm also outputting the action button value. As I keep on clicking, the value got increased. So this video is about action button, which is the continuation of, you can say, of the submit button video. Thank you for watching the video.